Welcome back to Intel Extreme Masters San Jose Open Qualifier, day one here in Burbank. Roddy's back on the couch with me. How you doing?
First time, actually, Paul.
Actually, first time on the couch.
I haven't sat on this couch in forever.
Well, you did sit on it earlier, just not on the stream.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No,
Oh,
not
maybe it was someone else with an orange shirt.
Salmon. It's salmon.
Is it salmon?
It is salmon.
Is it?
Come on, guys, drop it.
It looked orange. I thought it was like Dutch orange, Roddy.
No. I can show you Dutch orange.
No, I bet you can. Welcome back. We are 2 matches down in our group stages, so it's a good chance and an opportunity for you to look at the bracket right now and update you with all the scores that have been going on elsewhere. Right now at the top of the bracket, Intense coming through against Caliber 2-1. Nice win for the local man from Los Angeles, Intense there. Super going through 2-0 against Zanster, as we would have thought, and as you've just seen, Gummio winning against Puck. Gummio now has secured his spot in San Jose, but the big news for him is that he needs to win that upper bracket final to secure one of the 2 primary spots in the groups. That means that he would go through to play the Snoot or Hyun. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, Roddy.
It's always tricky. Of course, you know, as a competitor, you do want to win, and I think Gummio will still play his absolute best, but he may not do something that he has specifically prepared, just like he's going to go for a solid macro build. And if he wins, he wins, and if he doesn't, like, well, we'll see where it goes. It gives you a lot of confidence and momentum knowing that you just crushed today. You know, if you went 3-0, 6-0 in maps, it's like, ah, that's sweet. That's better than losing. But I don't think he's going to show the back of his tongue just yet in the series like that.
Absolutely not. We're going to move on to our next game, which is the other semi-final in the upper bracket, which is Intense versus Super, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. Just a quick reminder for you as well, if you are at home and you're thinking, hang on a minute, I'd really like to go to the SAP arena and watch some StarCraft 2. There's good news for you, because when that bracket disappears, hopefully, we'll give you a link to the San Jose tickets, where you can go and sign up and get the tickets right now and get a discount by using the code REDEYE. How cool is that?
No, it's really not all that cool, because if you use the code Rotterdam, you're way more cool. Same discount, just more fashion.
Less characters if you use the code REDEYE. Less typing.
Redeye didn't really prepare this. I even wrote it on my arm. That's how sure I was that I want to remind you guys that the code is Rotterdam. Please use the code Rotterdam.
But then you could take a late plane to get to San Jose, and that would be called a red-eye. And therefore, you should use that code, because it's less words, less letters, and you'll remember it.
Well met, Paul. I'll give you that one.
How long are we going to keep this up?
We'll meet again.
It's 2-2 on the Red-Eye versus Rotterdam account. We're going for a best of 5. The final game is coming in a moment. So we'll move on to this next game. This is a really good opportunity for Intense to show us what he's got. A player that, you know, he might be ranked really well on the GM ladder right now, and questionable because of the map pool, but not because the map pool is rubbish, but because it's Dream Pool, and, well, frankly, I'm not having a good time with it. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. But it doesn't really give us an idea as to where he is in the map pool that we're using for this map. But it's a great opportunity for him.
Definitely. Intense is not a player that's had a whole lot of opportunities to play on a stage like this. I live in this area as well, so I've seen Intense a couple of times, because sometimes we have these small local tournaments here in just an internet cafe. And I know that Intense is one of these guys who will always play top 3, top 2, and we have quite a few GM players around here. So he's good. He's been around for a while. He sometimes struggles a little bit with motivation. Like one moment he's so eager to go all out on StarCraft, and he's all about practicing, and he loves his game. And then the next moment it's like, oh, I just wish I didn't play Terran. And then it's like, Terran is amazing, but he's a really skilled player, so this is a great stage. He's also, let's not forget, he came in as a replacement, so it's not like he had weeks of pressure building up to this. Like, no, this is just Intense, how we would normally just sit at home, play a few ladder games, but now actually having an opportunity. And we have seen Cinderella stories like this before. Tournaments, obviously preparing for tournaments is really important, but if you're a newcomer, you never really had a lot of success, you often put a lot of extra additional pressure on your shoulders. And if you get a last-minute invite, you know one of these stories.
I know what you're talking about right now.
You just kind of go. You're like, hey, cool, I can play in this tournament. That's awesome. And sometimes you'll surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, what Roddy's talking about is back in 2006 in the Euro Cup finals, this man actually got a last-minute replacement call-up to go and fly out to Denmark to play in the Euro Cup. Had no hope of winning the tournament, and actually went and won the whole damn thing, didn't you?
The only thing I ever won, but
it's the best way to do it, Kev. Best way to do it. Super. Let's talk about him. A Korean that is not perhaps regarded as one of the top-tier Koreans, but is a very dangerous player when you meet him in brackets. So he too has a very big opportunity here to make it all the way to the San Jose group stage.
Yeah, I would absolutely be lying if I'm going to tell you right now, like, oh, Super, I watch his stream all the time, or he's so well known for this build or that build. When I see the name Super, it's like I was joking a little bit with Sean as well. I've heard that name before. And of course, you think back about the old GSL days, like, yeah, wasn't he on MVP? And yeah, that does ring a bell, but he's not a guy that I have a whole lot of memories of. So this is just a big opportunity for him as well. He is not like, I don't think that you guys, when you announced the introductory match, say 2 months ago, you're like, oh man, well, Super is probably going to be there. It's like, no, he kind of came out of nowhere, just like OGS Top, you know, that's a guy that went to the very first DreamHack so many years ago, and now suddenly he's here. I think that's really cool. And for me, he's a little bit of a wild card. He defeated Sunset 2-0. I actually really want to watch those games, but I was on the desk, so I didn't see them. You know, you could say like Super, he's the favorite because he's Korean and he was once upon a time, you know, in GSL Code S, but we'll see. I think Intense is going to put up a very good fight. I'd be surprised if this is a 2-0, let me put it like that.
Okay, we've got a few minutes before these guys are ready to kick things off, which gives me an opportunity to talk to you, as I talked to Sean earlier about the group stages. Quality of players that we've got in. I know we've had a couple of dropouts, which is always a shame, especially when it's Scarlet. We always would love to see her playing. And obviously Major as well, you know, he's such an enigma. You want to see him play, you want to see whether he rails against the regular player or whether he steps up, and he's produced some great results in the past. So disappointing to see those two drop out, but still we've got a really high quality set of players in there. Who stands out? Who's the favourite? Who do you like? I mean, don't even go to 4GG already.
No, come on. No, you know who I'm about to say, Paul.
I do.
Like,
I was just trying to prompt it to be different, but all right.
This man, he recently had a team switch. Of course, he was in SK Telecom for a long time. He's been my favorite Protoss player for a solid 2 years now, ever since, even like before 2012 WCS Grand Finals, or back then it was called BWI in China. I was like, man, this guy called Rain, like, I don't know. I didn't follow Brood War that well, so I was not that familiar with him. I was like, man, this guy is something special. And I've been following him ever since. He was at the WCS Season 2 Global Finals in 2013 in Cologne, where we both were. But it was unfortunate. That was a few weeks after his GSL loss against Meru. And back then, Rain was apparently really bummed out that he lost that, and he didn't really prepare at all for the grand finals.
Yeah, he was very kind of.
No, he was not like Rain.
No, he was just like a totally different player, wasn't he? We had massive expectations of him. I remember thinking, like, we're going to see this player just go through the bracket and just destroy everyone, and it just didn't happen for him. So
yeah, then later we found out that he was so bummed out that he lost to Mero back then that he didn't really even like go that crazy in preparation. Or some people say that he barely even played the game going to Cologne. But this time, you know, he even made the decision. He's like, all right, I can play in GSL Hot 6 Cups, or I can go to San Jose. He's like, no, I want to go to San Jose. So, you know, I am so happy that Rain is here. And I know 4GG comes off that hot DreamHack win, but for me, it's all about Rain this weekend.
Right. Okay, we'll see whether your Brotos delivers when we go to the group stages tomorrow. Right now, as you can see, our players in this particular game have moved into the map vetoes, Intense versus Super. I don't expect we're going to see anything really crazy or out of the ordinary in terms of maps, are we, Kev?
No, I'm expecting Super to veto Catalina. Nimbus is also, of course, a very popular veto. Nimbus is extremely difficult to defend your natural because it's so popular to drop on. The second veto will probably be Catalina for Super. Intense vetoes, Foxtrot Labs, I'm not too shocked about that either. And then if we are left with King Sejong, Merry-Go-Round and Overgrowth, that just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, three most popular maps of the season, but we're not going to get them. We are instead going to get Catalina. Not that massive of a surprise, I guess, because we have seen a lot of Catalina more towards the end of that season, actually. It started becoming a bit more... It was like one of those maps where they said, right, okay, we could go merry-go-round, but Terran-wise, not so sure. And then some of them were starting to switch towards Catalina. Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I personally find Catalina very difficult because there's so much airspace that a single observer will often not give you the information that you truly need to be sure that drops are not heading your direction. Merry-go-round can be a little bit tricky as well because there is a lot of surface area in the main. So a photon overcharge is not going to keep you safe as a Protoss player. So that's why some Protoss don't like merry-go-round. But the plus side, or the good thing about merry-go-round is that there's this weird force field wall around the map that allows medevacs, once they go in, they're pretty much committed, unless they stay all the way in the edge. But they can't go all the way in. While in Catalina, they can fly south, north, east, and west, and they will always escape. So I personally find Catalina a little more difficult, but I'm curious to see what Super has planned for that. But, you know, game number 1 on Catalina, like if Intense is going to win this series, that is a must-win map for him. Like out of these three, it's going to be very difficult to lose Catalina and then win on the two most standard map pool, or as Letod would say, the two maps that we dislike the least, because that's Todd's view on life.
That was a very good impression. You're getting better as well. All you need to do now is grow a little beard and a tash, and we'll be there. We'll have 2 Todds in the room. Thank you very much, Rotterdam. Let's over to the commentary desk now for our second game in the semi-finals of the upper bracket, bracket 1.
Thanks very much, guys. All right, the third PvT of the day, and you're not happy by the looks of things with that remark.
Gonna have to have a discussion with these boys later.
I figured
Off camera.
Well, oh well. Okay, so they'll hear from it later, as we have a very interesting match here. Intense is a guy that I've been able to cast actually quite a lot of recently, because normally I only ever cast the European and the Korean qualifiers, but this time around I actually got to cast the American qualifiers as well.
The passion was so strong that you actually moved over.
I woke up very, very late at night to come and cast those qualifiers, and this is Intense, a guy that I'm pretty sure we've never really seen on stream before. And
he figured out the camera.
He's figured out that this is his first time on stream as well, apparently, and is giving us a little bit of a show. This guy is young. This guy is young, but also he's a big up-and-comer in the American scene. Who he did pretty well during the qualifiers. He actually eliminated Hook in the last American qualifier during that double elimination bracket 2-0. So that kind of gives you a good idea of how he fares in this matchup.
I think his TVP is good. Yeah, he beat Showtime as well. One of the, I feel, better German players.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially in PvT, you know, he's pretty good. you need to look at the camera, bro, if you're gonna do that. But yeah, Super is someone who doesn't get too much spotlight, doesn't get too many opportunities to show his skill, but when he does, I mean, he's been in Codes in the past, he went to Acer Team Story Cup, he all-killed Team Millennium, which I was playing as the Joker, kind of crushed me too, so I have a lot Jesus.
Sorry.
I have a lot of respect for him, and I feel like this is going to be a good match here, no matter what. I just watched actually Intense defeat Caliber. They were playing backstage, and those were some pretty good games, and very straightforward too, you know, no cheese, just like made a ton of bioforces on 3 bases, fought one, that simple.
Fair play. Also, I mean, you were mentioning the fact that Super, you know, he's able to pull out good results when he does. He actually, I think most recently his tournament was Kesper Cup. He actually qualified for Kesper Cup and was there and defeated Sue in the first round. Unfortunately, after that, fell to Flash 3-1. But overall, qualifying for that cup alone really showed that Super's still around. Super is still a strong contender in those upper echelons of the Korean scene, and is certainly able to pull wins out. I mean, it was Sue, for Christ's sake, in the first round. So anyway, let's get into it. Game number 1 between these two for the open bracket in the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose, as Intense is...
He loves the camera.
He's loving it, man. He is loving it. So, on the left-hand side, it is indeed our blue Terran. It is Intense, who had some good positions during those qualifiers. And let's see if he can carry that through.
He's Terran, but his team is Psystorm, go figure. He's actually a bit of a race switcher. He plays Protoss as well, or at least used to.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't realize. And spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our red Protoss representing Invasion. It's Super, a guy that is looking to try and move through here. He's normally, in a bracket, one of the favorites. One of the favorites here in this open bracket to try and get through. And Intense is going to have a pretty tough time, I think.
It's pretty cool, actually, that we have 2 players here from Team Invasion. You know, like these newer teams.
3, in fact.
Oh, yeah, 3.
Top as well.
Yeah, you know, these newer teams, you never really know like how it's going to turn out. Like they're a new name in esports, and you never know if their players are going to make it. A lot of the time, actually, they kind of don't. And this time, to see like all of these players coming here, I think it's definitely cool. It gives them a good opportunity to, you know, to showcase their skill. And I mean, we've seen Gumiho play super well so far. Now it's perhaps Super's time to shine.
Yeah, I think that could be, especially through this open bracket as well. Intense, yes, he had some good results against Protoss, but now this is a step up. This is an opponent that, you know, we've seen him go toe-to-toe with really strong Koreans in the past. So he's going to have to pull out something special here on Catalina as he opens up with Gas, so can happily get a repro over there if he wants to.
Yeah, I think Intense is the one more likely, you know, to be playing fairly standard, you know, Reaper opener into Bio, into like 3rd base Vikings against Colossus, blah blah blah. Maybe an SCV pull here and there, even though I haven't seen him particularly want to do that. Even actually in his last game against Caliber, he got attacked. He got all in on 2 bases.
Okay.
I don't even think he pulled SCVs like he just defended with his army, which I mean is a little bit questionable. Like if he pulled SCVs, he would have had a much easier time. Then again, I'm Protoss. To me, there's never a bad time to pull the boys. So.
That's true. That's true. There seems to be a lot of opportunities for him.
Whereas Super, I feel like he might be the one who to do something special. Then again, he's against a player that he probably considers weaker. So if he just plays standard, he should be thinking that you can just outplay him straight up and win. So I feel like Super, he might just play standard as well. And I mean, standard against standard, man. That's the way I love it.
That's okay by me, yeah. Intense is going to send this Reaper over and have a look around, following this up with the command center behind it. So he's not doing anything too novel. He's not going for something super really aggressive, and he's going to try and play this out as standard compete. And the interesting thing for Intense here is that he probably doesn't get huge amounts of opportunity to play on a stage like this against a Korean like Super here. So this will be a real feel-out game for Intense to really kind of gauge exactly where he's at in his own skill level against a good player here like Super.
It's so great to see a player loving it like he is too. Interacting with the camera. I'm sure if he wins, he's literally going to jump all over the place.
Probably.
And pretty cool hiding here of the Reaper. Should find its way to the main here pretty soon, just to try and see whether there is a Twilight or if there could be a Stargate going down. In which case, it's actually going to be the Twilights.
Are you
expecting sweet time to go in the main though?
Are you expecting Blink on a map like this?
Yeah, it's very possible. Like we've talked a little bit about it previously. Those Korean Protosses these days are doing very good with the Blink being defensive or aggressive. And actually, he's just going to pull out of there. Let's choose to go into the main.
I guess he'll have to try and loop around and go in to the main from the third base location or something like that, because that's mostly where you're able to get the opportunity to jump in. There is so much area to sneak around.
If the map was Ohana, you probably wouldn't be able to go back into the main and see what's happening. Whereas here on Catalina, surely you can go on the top right-hand side of the main of the Protoss player, get in there, try to confirm what's up. Only one single additional gateway so far for Super. This is interesting. Well, usually you always drop down 2 at least.
Yep. And gets pushed away as well, so he's not really getting any information regarding this Twilight Council.
Yeah, he only saw one additional gate. Usually when you see just one gate like this, there is a robo with it.
Yeah, that's true. So he may be led down a path here that is not the correct one. He's got his stem on the way. The tech lab's actually in positioning of those. If the blink goes up there, it could be a little bit vulnerable once that becomes a thing. But the robo bay is going down. The robo facility, even I should say, is going down behind this for him. So is this just? Could he potentially still go for aggression here with an observer, etc., and try and keep his mothership core alive?
It would be a very little unit count, and I think actually Intense is probably going to be the one that attacks before, even though he's getting Steam Pack first. He could hit this one timing where he's going to have a lot of Bioforces just before the Protoss gets his first Colossus and starts swapping in a lot of units to be able to defend against this sort of attack very comfortably. Super though, he's done a superb job, no pun intended, of chrono boosting out probes, already up to 42 against 31 SCV, so he's well saturated on 2 bases. From there, we are going to see a lot of tech being dropped down, and possibly a third base if he wants to go for it, maybe even double forge. There is no forge down just yet, even though he's I guess he went for blink and then robo bay, which is the standard now.
I like this from Super in the end. He's like just playing pretty standard, pretty defended overall, making sure his opponent's not going to do anything. The Stalkers were doing a good job at there, preventing any scouting. He kills off the Reaper at the front, so now has a little bit of wiggle room once this army moves out.
A turret actually going up for Intense, wants to play it safe against any sort of DT play that could come out of his opponents. And double additional gateway here for a Super, who's... I feel like Super is making so little gates compared to most Protosses. Most Protosses, you cut on 18 at minerals, and then you go up to already 5 or 6 gates. But no, he's just added 2 now. He opened with just the 2 original ones. He's gonna trade some shields here for some Bioforces, force the Steam as well, and first Colossus is on the way now. And actually, it's funny, Super hasn't seen any building of his opponent just yet. Since he didn't scout early on, the first observer is finally gonna find his way to Intense's base, and it's going to see the first few tech productions.
The only thing I'm confused about, Todd, is where are the forges for Super? Is he just going to go with something like that? I mean, it's really, really late, the idea of a forge.
Yeah, I feel like he made too many gates for it to be an all-in, but I guess since he's making so many gateways, I'm really wondering right now if maybe he's thinking about some kind of timing, because he's going up to 8 gateways.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell, Super?
No upgrades to speak of, aside from Thermal Lance, of course, but...
He's proxying pylons now. Maybe because he killed a bunch of Bioforces and the aggression of his opponent did nothing. He wants to be aggressive with Blink Stalkers first. hope that Intense maybe goes into, you know, a too quick third CC before additional barracks, which he's not, by the way. He's dropping down already 2 additional barracks. And then kind of catch him off guard. I guess from here, Super is still going to have the choice, though. He's going to scout with his observer, see what's up, and then decide what he goes into. But you know what? He didn't see the double additional racks. He barely missed them because his observer got sniped by the turrets. So Super is missing the information that he would like to have right now.
There was a good unit split there to just make sure it was denying in the main. And actually that Colossus is very, very vulnerable. If the bio was quick enough, it could have jumped on that opportunity a bit faster, but doesn't get the kill. And he's going to lose a lot of this Bioforce to just Blink Stalker Micro alone here. The Colossus has fallen, but there's so many Stalkers left that it's going to do so much damage with that Medivac extra going down.
Oh man, he killed the Colossus, but at what cost? Losing so much of these Bioforces here. Intense, he's down to 24 army supply against 41. He has absolutely 0 Vikings. And you know what? He can't even make any because he needs to get more Medivacs to support his bio. He's going to have to pull the boys instead of his base here.
Yeah, those vulnerable add-ons get brought down very quickly, as we were mentioning before. Here come the SCVs to try and fend this off, but he's going to lose a lot during this process. With Super just blinking back down to the low ground, he's got so much production behind this. Even the Colossus is just chilling out at the front saying, yo, what's up? And he's going to walk into that natural, which is very, very, very vulnerable at this point.
Super didn't even give time for Intense to get add-ons on his additional barracks, and there is just too much army supply here. He made Intense overextend. He made his Stalker attack look weak, and then Intense went for the wrong timing.
Yeah, Time Warp's going to slow a lot of it down. Blinks forwards for victory. That Colossus goes undeterred as, unfortunately, Intense has very, very little left to his name here. And just extra reinforcements coming along. Only he has Medivacs left. GG for game number 1, as Super will take it pretty cut and dry in the end. Pretty cut and dry.
Cut and dry, huh?
Yeah.
What are those new Kailaris expression I'm going to get to learn about?
It's as far away from done and dusted as possible. I actually don't think I've said that for a long time.
You just did now.
Until just now, so thanks very much. There you go.
Was this game a cracker? Is that the next expression?
It was a right cracker, as Paul would say. You like all our Britishisms.
Yeah. Okay, that was a little bit weird by Super. It looked like he wanted to play a stand. Suddenly he's like, you know what? I don't even want to waste time against this guy. I'm just going to drop down a few additional gateways, go for the attack. And this is the one attack where Intense, he was actually ahead on supply. If he had waited back at home, he would have been in an okay position to possibly defend this. But now he moves out. And he was probably already very surprised by the amount of Stalkers that was there. But it was too late. You can't pull back against Stalkers. Like, they're just going to chase you and kill everything.
Yeah, and you pointed out the units had stimmed quite a lot. I mean, a lot of that force that was reinforcing at the back there had to stim from the main base where it was originally positioned to deal with Blink Stalkers anyway. So if it was 1 to 2 stims, those units were dying so fast as they were entering the fight.
Maybe a little bit of a lack of experience, you know?
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe on the American server playing against Roddy it's enough, but when you play with the big boys in
Jeez,
Intel...
the burns!
Hey, come on! After what they said on the couch, they deserve this.
Okay.
I'm gonna get red eye later, too.
Okay, so let's get into things. Game number 2 is loading up here between Intense and Super. As I said, Super looks good there. No real commitment to upgrades later on, just going for that big gateway play in the end. But let's get into things as we have King Sage on station, our second map. And up to the top left-hand corner, it's our player currently 1 game up, representing Invasion Esports. It is Super, who looked pretty good. That first game, pretty good. And then down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our blue Terran representing Psystorm Gaming. It is Intense, who, in the American scene, as I say, we've seen a lot of good results from him. When it came to the qualifiers, a lot of those were really good TVZs actually that I got to cast. Some TVPs, which he looked good in as well, but again, unfortunately for him, kind of got a little bit run over there by Super.
You know, that first game, I really thought for a second that it might go, you know, for longer, obviously. Both players, they seem to be opening fairly steady. Nobody wanted to be super aggressive. But then all of a sudden, Super completely caught Intense off guard and just won the mind games, you know, in terms of micro too. It was spot on. The positioning was good. It's just really Intense that overextended. So I have to wonder, did he just get very unfortunate with what he had planned? Or did he maybe get nervous, you know? It's the big stage here. You can play as many ladder games as you want. It's never going to be the same as here when you play on a beautiful stage like this. And you know that thousands of people are watching. Yeah. So he's going to have to be careful, you know. If he gets too nervous, he might be playing worse.
You're entirely right. I'm actually looking over at him, and he's playing pretty fast. So that's good to see. Again, what's cool about being able to have cast the American qualifiers is that I got to see a wealth of depth that I didn't realize fully existed before about the American scene. So people like Intense are those guys that are coming up through the American scene and trying to make a name for themselves, and it's cool to see that.
It's funny how you say he's playing pretty fast. Like, you know, it sounds a little bit crazy. Like, imagine you would have been looking over and you're like, I'm looking at him right now. He's playing pretty slow.
Look at this, people.
Nobody's playing slow in this tournament, man. These are all good players. Of course, they're playing fast. This is StarCraft 2.
All right. Yeah, no, you're all right. It's a pretty tough game. You got to be fast if you're going to play at this level. And he's taking precautions. He's making sure nothing's going on down to that bottom left. Wow.
You know, we talked about how Super doesn't get to, or doesn't play in that many tournaments at the same time. So you don't get to see his games too often. And if you want to find content on Super, like to study from his games, they might be pretty old, you know. Like I've talked about how he played in the Acer Team Story Cup. That was so long time ago. Like you can't even really study anything from these games.
You're right. I mean, even his series against Flash in the Kesper Cup. Kesper Cup's kind of a while ago now as well, to be honest. So even that isn't really too much of an indication as to what he's doing at the moment, since Terrans are kind of on this like transcendence and being enlightened.
You watch someone play Flash, you can't really be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just gonna do the same as Flash and it's gonna go well for me.
That's true. Well, the Reaper's gonna hang out at the front for a little while and head on in, see that Nexus maybe in a bit. Do whatever it wants. The point is, it's chilling out and it has seen the Nexus, so just waiting to.
What does the pylon positioning tell you, Kailaris?
That pylon positioning?
No, the other one, the one all the way to the top.
That pylon positioning? So, Stargate,
Quick.
Twilight Council?
Wrong. Twilight.
All right.
I don't think you want to put a Stargate all the way back in your base like this, even though, you know, oracles are pretty fast. I guess it doesn't matter all that much, but usually, almost always, I feel like this is going to be a Twilight more than a Stargate here. And yeah, it's just been so popular that almost every single game nowadays you're going to see portals open like this.
I get you. I mean, at least you can, at most, or at least even, get rid of the idea that a Robo's going to be back there or something.
The only Terran that I would ever predict to go for, like, you know, 2 gates and a Robo and then play it very standard is probably Rain. He's the only guy that can somewhat play standard, fairly passive in the start, and somehow make it work.
That's the scary thing about Rain, though. Recently, he's kind of been mixing that up a lot. Like, when they cast him in the Korean qualifiers, he just decided to just kill everyone before it even got to, like, a really long-standing game, which, you know, for someone like Rain, who is so solid a macro game, being able to bring in those kinds of changes is very, very scary.
He actually, you're right. He mixed it up a lot recently in one tournament that I casted of him that he actually won, but Super here, also definitely one of those guys, you know, that can mix it up well, but it looks so far that in this series he wants to play the exact same way in the second game, at least with as far as openers go, as he did in the first game. But what I like about this build is that even though, you know, he gets Blink, Double Gate and a Robo, then he can decide what he wants to go into. If he wants to go into Templars, I feel like it's unlikely, but he could. He could just drop down Double Forge and take a third base a little bit later. Or not take a third base at all.
So you're basically saying the base of this build is very flexible.
Yes, and
very flexible.
It's very good and flexible.
It's certainly well defended as well, with the fact that you have Blink Stalkers there, just to be able to deal with any kind of things that are going to poke around, say for example, because I'm under the impression right now that Super didn't really do any scouting, so he doesn't really know what's going to be hitting him. So he has to take this kind of middle of the road build overall.
Yeah, that's a great scan.
Yeah, sees pretty much everything.
Saw the Blink researching, saw the Robo Bay. And what Intense did that I like this game is, rather than going for 3 barracks, lots of Bioforces, which he didn't really achieve anything last game, he stopped at 2 barracks and he's taking very quickly to Medivacs this game. And I'm sure he's going to want to be a lot more careful in terms of moving out and engaging with the way, you know, he needs to mean it. If he's going to meet, you know, a lot of Stalkers in the middle of the map and be scared of it. And Super, knowing that, could play this to his advantage. You know, make a bunch of Blink Stalkers like he's now, move to the middle of the map, scare Intense into camping at home, and then maybe go into Double Force, take a third base, play greedy against a Tian that will be scared, whereas he otherwise shouldn't be, just because of what's happened in the previous game.
Yeah, even with that small move out of Stalkers, then waiting until Blink was done to then clear out the Reaper, so it doesn't get away and doesn't get any opportunity to scout anything, is really cool. Because now, for all Intense knows, this isn't on his side of the map, and it is. So he has to be very, very careful about these Stalkers, who He actually gets one, which is nice. Surprised Super let that die.
Is Super actually going to drop down a bunch of gateways and do the same thing? Because there is still no forges here.
Yeah.
Here we go. He's going to make some more gates. It's funny because it seems like he pokes with the Blink Stalkers. He sees what his opponent has, and then he kind of decides, well...
Well, it gets kills for nothing, really. I mean, yes, he lost one Stalker before, and that's a given, but drops the scan.
Oh, he
and
missed
that's
the Observer. It's barely below. That cheeky guy.
Wait,
He's actually,
don't move into the...
He's teasing
Oh,
him.
what?
Was that intentional?
What? I don't know, I guess.
He wanted to show it and then force another scan, it looked like.
Oh, dude, if he really went for something like that, that would have been the
Hashtag Roddy
craziest.
mind games, man.
But
This was ridiculous.
there's another Observer. Oh, he
Scan
didn't need
me,
the first
please.
one anyway.
He wants him to scan it, because then that means Intense is not scanning to see the additional gateways and doesn't see the attack
maybe.
coming.
That's kind of crazy.
This
to
build
think
is sick.
about.
Usually you will see timings like this, but not on as many probes as Super has now.
Well, moving out could mean the death of him, because that's quite a strong army that you have here. The one Colossus, I don't think it has Thermal Lance quite yet, but that's a lot of Stalkers.
Yeah, the same thing as in the previous game might just happen here, except this time it's actually Super who's ahead in supply. And Thermal Lance is very close to finishing, he's gonna spot those units, but lose one Medivac!
I was scared for that. He has to be very, very careful with this position, because now retreating out, he only has one Medivac to pick up worth of stuff. But even if he tried that, he won't be able to, because he boosted before anyway. He's gonna lose a lot of forces in the middle, not for a whole
You know what's
lot.
crazy? This timing here by Super is designed to beat this build by turn.
Oh, Stalkers come in from the reinforcement pylons below as well. Catch even more of this Bioforce, and there's only 2 Medivacs with this, and he has nothing to be able to deal with the Colossi, unless he gets right on top of them with the Bio, but that's not going to be the case. Good Blink Stalker micro there as well by
There's
Super.
too much.
Way too much.
This is a crazy build, man. Super is like, yo, I know you're gonna move out with the first few Medivacs, so I'm actually gonna catch you in the middle of the map, have too much, and kill you, and that happens in both games now.
Blink's back needs to bring back those Colossi as well, as they do get out of harm's way, and now there's nothing left. There's no army left, there's very few SCVs. GG, Super takes the series 2-0, and I'll say it as I said it before in game number 1, Todd. Pretty cut and dry. Cut and dry.
Interesting build, man. I wonder how he found that build. He was just like playing like some standard games. He's like, hey, maybe I can just drop down a few additional gates. Maybe the Dream Pool brought that in him, you know?
Maybe.
He stumbled into this build by accident. He's like, yo, just get some gates, some Blink Stalkers, Colossus attack, and if Terran is moving out and he's middle of the map, I'm just gonna catch him, kill everything, and win the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary.
How do you pull back here as Terran? I guess you need to see the
don't
additional
go
gates.
out, you have to- yeah, you have
and
to
then
have
you
info.
don't move out, but that does not really ever happen. Especially if you look at his base, Super, he spreads his gateways out all over the place. Like, you couldn't
true.
scan and see all of them.
Yeah, and even like the initial 2 pylons are so far away from one another. If your Reaper gets in there and spots where 1 or 2 of them are, then where do you scan? You have a really, really hard time. But as you can see, here is where it kind of really started spiraling out of control, just approaching that 11-minute mark. And the move out from Terran...
He's like 10:30, I guess, in this game, just because he went double racks and then Medivacs and waited to have what he thought was enough, then moved out, and then it's actually a crazy build. Like, I didn't really expect something like that out of Super. I expect it either, you know, very cheesy play, even though, you know, this wasn't the most macro ever, or a very standard play, but no, it was kind of in between. He did that one timing that I did not know about or not see coming, because usually you want to cut probes much earlier. You want to stop at like 44, 46, now he's on 52 probes. But somehow it works out well for him. I guess he has extra money compared to usually, and since he's on 8 gates and he doesn't need to chrono boost anything else than the Colossus, he can use chrono boost on his gates and spend all that extra money into using his gateways all the time. So that's why he had so much, like he literally had so many Stalkers.
Yeah, and it's not like Intense's macro is bad by any means. When I was watching him in the American qualifiers, he constantly got to these positions where he was hitting like 120, 130, 150 army supply very, very rapidly. So he has good macro. It's just that, unfortunately, we saw kind of a super-powered Super there, where he...
No pun intended.
No, not at all. Where that army really packed more punch than it kind of looked like initially. And catching an army in the middle of the map, it's pretty hard to deal with. So, in just a little bit, we'll be going over to the couch with Mr. Redeye and our winner.
Thanks, James. Yes, a super-powered Super is what James said you are. That's a nice way of putting it. You can translate that to him. I think he would like that. Super, for those of us that aren't aware of you and haven't followed your career, just explain a little bit about who you are and where you've come from and your background.
이제 해외에서 슈퍼 선수를 좀 잘 모르는 선수들, 그러니까 팬들도 있을 텐데 그분들에게 간단한 자기소개 좀 해주세요.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 프로토스를 하고 있는 아이디는 슈퍼를 쓰고 있고 네, 아직은 뭐 좋은 성적 못 내긴 하고 있지만 다음에는 좋은 성적 내가지고 이름을 알릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 네.
So he says, "Hello, my name is Super. I'm a Protoss player, and I haven't been able to have the best results, and that's why many of you probably don't know who I am. But I assure you, I will do my very best to have those results, so that all of you will remember my name."
Good answer. I like it. Strong answer. I like that. How easy was that game? It looked very easy from our point of view, but from your point of view, what was it like?
우리가 봤을 때는 그 경기들이 되게 좀 쉽게 이긴 것 같았는데 그랬나요, 진짜?
네, 저도 생각했을 때 그냥 편하게 하다가 한 방에 밀어버렸으니까 네, 쉽게 풀어나간 것 같아요, 예상대로. 네.
Says, I agree. As you say, I had an initial plan where I just wanted to play comfortably, and I pushed, and the games just went out so smoothly. I felt very comfortable, and the wins were very easy for me as well.
Okay. How difficult is it playing a player that you may have not seen any replays of and you don't really know him before? Is it difficult? Do you worry at all when you go into a game like that?
일단 이 선수는 한 번도 못 봤을 거 아니에요. 그래서 그렇게 모르는 상대 앞두고 좀 긴장이나 뭐 어려운 부분이 있나요? 왜냐면 한 번도 만나본 적도 없고 그 이 선수의 스타일도 모르니까 그런 것에 대해서 좀 어려운 부분이 있나요?
그냥 생각하지 않고 제가 그냥 연습한 대로만 하고 그냥 제가 배제 없이 플레이만 하면은 이길 수 있다고 생각했기 때문에 큰 걱정은 없었어요. 네.
No, I actually didn't worry that much. My mindset was if I just play the way that I practice, the way that I know that I'm a good PvT player, then I thought I would do well. And as long as I didn't take too many risks or anything like that. And actually, Super, I was looking at your record recently. You've defeated some top Terrans. You've defeated Maru, Supernova, Fantasy. So does that mean you weren't worried at all going into this matchup? 최근에 엄청 잘하는 한국 테란 선수들을 많이 이겼는데 그런 것 때문에 솔직히 이 경기 들어가기 전에 긴장 하나도 안 했나요? 걱정이나?
잘하는 선수 이긴 지는 그 예선에서 이긴 거는 꽤 된 것 같은데요. 근데 그것보다도 요즘 연습 실력에 자신이 있어가지고 테란전뿐만이 아니라 다른 종족전도 다 자신 있기 때문에 모든 걱정 없어요. 네.
In terms of the games that you're talking about, I believe those were qualifier games, and I think some time has passed, but more than that, I'm really confident in my practice. I feel really comfortable in not just the Terran matchup, coming from a Protoss player, and I am comfortable in all matchups right now, so I am really confident, and I think that's why I was able to do so well here.
Okay. One final question. You're going to play Gumio now, which is your new teammate. So it's going to be a team kill one way or the other. Do you care about team kills, or are you just going to give him a free win? Is it easy win for Gumio?
이제 다음 상대는 구미호 선수와 만나게 될 건데 이제 같은 팀원이잖아요. 그래서 팀킬인데 그런 거 신경 쓰나요? 아니면 팀원이든 상관없어. 내가 이겨야 돼. 뭐 이런 마인드인가요?
서로 견제하는 부분도 있을 거고 아마 속으로는 다 자기가 이길 거라고 생각하지 않을까 싶네요. 네.
So obviously, I mean, playing a teammate, it is different. And he says, on the inside, we're definitely both going to think I'm going to be the one that wins.
Okay, well, there's good news for you, Super, because it doesn't matter too much in terms of who wins your game, because you're both qualified now. So you are both making it through to the group stages. But I'm just going to throw this in there for you. It's a bit spicy, because if you win, you get to play Snoot or Hyun. If you lose, you get to play one of the top seeds from the top 4 in the group. So which way round do you want it to be?
The Snoot and who was the other player that you
Snoot
mentioned?
or Hyun?
Hyun?
Yeah, if they win, if either of them win their upper bracket final, that's who they would play.
만약에 이제 구미호 선수와 만나서 이기게 된다면 스누트 선수나 아니면 고석현 선수를 만나게 되고 아니면 또 다른 좀 어려운 그러니까 다른 그탑 뭐지 시드 높은 네 분 만나게 될 건데 그 중에서 그러니까 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요?
상대에 대한 걱정은 지금 하나도 없고요. 그냥 연습한 대로만 잘 됐으면 하는 바람이에요. 네.
Very, very confident words. He says, honestly, it doesn't matter who I go up against.
All right.
All I need to do is play as I practiced.
Well, best of luck, Super. Thank you very much for the interview on the couch as well. Thank you, Sue. We're going to move on to our next game, and it will feature this man against his teammate, Gumio versus Super. As I said, confirmed they are both through to the San Jose round of 16 groups, but we need to find out which one gets the seed into potentially, supposedly, the easier group. We'll find out after the break.